Welcome, everyone. We're here today with Christian Bradford, who is the accessibility lead for Kalkomey Enterprises, to talk about the importance of accessibility. Christian, how are you this evening?
I'm well. How are you doing
I
today?
am doing well and looking forward to this conversation. So, why is accessibility important? Does it really increase the impact of my project in the real world?
Yes, accessibility can have a great impact on your project. First of all, um, I would say in terms of addressing the market, there's a lot of people out there who have disabilities, and being able to have them access your product, your site, your application can open up just a large segment of the market to you. The CDC reports that maybe 1 in 4 people are living with a disability. That's adults in the United States. It doesn't include children. There's about 61 million people. So not all of those disabilities may affect whether or not they are able to access your site or use a computer, but that does make up a sizable percentage of people who you may be able to gain access to, making sure that you don't put up any barriers. And in terms of legal, uh, there are people that are bringing lawsuits under the Americans with Disabilities Act to go ahead and force companies to make their websites accessible. So getting ahead of that, making your site accessible, it can reduce your vulnerability to those legal challenges. And of course, from an altruistic standpoint, it's the right thing to do. We build the web that we're all going to be using tomorrow, and as we all are aging, uh, we're all going to be dealing with disabilities ourselves. So we just want to create a better internet that we're all going to be using.
Absolutely. So what should my first goal in increasing accessibility for my site or project be?
Well, you probably want to take an audit of your site in some way to determine what areas are inaccessible, what areas can be improved. So WebAIM is one organization that helps out with accessibility, and they, over the last few years, have put out analysis of the top 1 million sites that they go through, and they have identified a whole bunch of areas that are the most common accessibility issues. So that's a good thing to start with because it's likely that one of those issues is something that your sites and applications might be suffering from. The number one issue that they identify by far is actually color contrast. So that is just text that's on your site, whatever the color is, compared with the color of the background, making sure that there's good contrast so the text is readable. There's different levels that you can test at for the size of text, but you definitely want to make sure that the text on your site is readable. Another might be keyboard navigation. Not everybody uses a mouse, so you want to make sure that all parts of your site and application are reachable just by navigating by keyboard alone. Yeah.
That's a item I think very few people think about with regards to keyboard navigation. I know I've done several applications in the past that were very focused on keyboard navigation, and it's amazing how fast you can even make the average user who isn't suffering from any disabilities more efficient on your site or application if you just think about those things from the get-go, and then you get great accessibility wins out of it as well, which is always good, right? To be able to see those win-wins come out of that. Have you seen any problems with dynamic content, things like spa applications, things like that, where they're dynamically loading content and with accessibility? Is that normally a challenge, or do the modern accessibility tools deal with that well?
Um, there are challenges with the single page applications. Most of that is not necessarily in auditing them, but because there is, on one hand, the automated testing that you can do, but you always need human testing to go through there and identify things. The problem with single page applications is really just setting up those zones so that changes on the page can be notified to, say, your assistive technology, such as your screen reader, so that there's no page refresh, but just so zones are getting updated, making sure that that is passed along to the screen reader to be announced to somebody who may not be able to see it, say like a user who is blind.
Yeah, so that if a action on a right pane has caused a left pane to shift, that we've done what we need to do to make it clear to the assistive device, be it a screen reader or otherwise, that they should make the user aware that there was a change on the other side of the page, so to speak. Yeah, that makes sense.
Right, exactly.
All right. How do I even get started with all of this? Question 3 here. Don't I need like an expert like yourself on staff to even begin to do this?
Well, having an expert is always worthwhile, I think, but there are a lot of things that you could do yourself. Like I mentioned, the keyboard navigation, that's a very simple thing to do. You can just go ahead and put away your mouse, leave the trackpad on your laptop alone, and see if you can go to the top of your site or application and just tab through it completely and make sure that you get to every point that you need to get to, every part that should be operable, whether it be a link, a button, a form field. Once you get there, provided you can get to all of them, make sure that they are operable by the keyboard alone. If you can even get to them, but then hitting the enter key doesn't do anything to follow a link or engage a button, then you have a problem. Then you have to dive in and see exactly what that is, whether it's your markup, your scripting that is causing that. So,
gotcha.
Simple things like that.
Well, awesome. Thank you very much for sharing your expertise with us today. We always ask our guests for one habit that they have that has helped make them successful. What would you like to share today?
I would say the one habit that I've tried to cultivate is flexibility, remaining flexible. Early on in my career, a lot of people would tell you that if you pack in the projects, you could make a lot of money on the side, having a side hustle, things like that. I've always chose to keep my schedule open and keep it flexible. That leaves me more time for family, more time for things to pop up like this, and have the opportunity to be able to do that. And it just leaves me less stressed, I think, overall.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll have links to the things that Christian mentioned down in the description below.